Still feeling anxious? Try these 5 gentle and proven calming tips. You tried to calm down. Maybe you breathed slowly. Maybe you sat quietly. Maybe you counted to 10 and waited. And the feeling stayed, not loudly, just present. A low, persistent frequency of not quite right, sitting somewhere in your chest, your throat, or just beneath the surface of your thoughts. So you tried again, a different approach, and somewhere in the middle of that second attempt, a quieter question appeared. Why isn't this working? That question is where this video begins. Not because something is wrong with you, but because that question, why isn't this working, is doing something specific inside your nervous system. Think of it this way. Your brain is trying to force quit a program while the processor is still convinced it's running a critical task. The effort to close it keeps confirming that something important is open. Most people assume anxiety persists because they haven't found the right solution yet, the right breathing pattern, the right mindset shift, the right routine. But there is another possibility, one that rarely gets named, that your mind may already be doing exactly what it was designed to do. Here is what often happens. A sensation appears. Tension in the chest, a restless edge, a low hum of unease. Your mind notices it, and then, almost immediately, it begins to monitor it. How strong is it? Is it getting worse? What does this mean? That monitoring is the beginning of the loop, because the act of watching a sensation closely tends to make it more present, not more dangerous, just more attended to, more visible. And your mind, receiving more signal, concludes one thing: this must be important. Keep watching. This is not a flaw in your thinking. It is a feature of a system designed to protect you. The loop isn't evidence of weakness. It is evidence of a nervous system doing its job, perhaps more persistently than the current situation requires, but doing its job. The second layer of this pattern is subtler. When you try to calm down, you introduce a new element into the system. You begin monitoring your attempts to stop monitoring. Am I more relaxed yet? Is this technique working? Why do I still feel this way? This is what creates the particular frustration of persistent anxiety. The harder you try, the further calm seems. You are not failing to relax. You are maintaining vigilance in a slightly different form. The goal shifted from watching for danger to watching for calm. But the watching itself remained. And here is the contradiction that most calming advice skips entirely. When you try to meditate or force a breathing pattern, your brain notes the effort. It concludes that if you are working this hard to change your state, there must be something significant you are trying to escape. The effort to relax becomes evidence of danger. Your nervous system is staying alert even while you are trying to relax because, to your brain, being on guard carries higher survival value than being at peace. So what is the mind actually protecting? This is the part worth sitting with. Persistent alertness, the kind that stays even during quiet moments, often developed as a response to a period where staying alert genuinely felt like the responsible thing to do. Not necessarily a single event, but sometimes just a prolonged stretch where the other shoe kept dropping, where emotions around you were unpredictable, where calm wasn't a resting state. It was just the space between two difficult things. To a brain that learned that lesson thoroughly, relaxation can feel like a trap. Vigilance, while exhausting, feels honest. It feels prepared. If I stay ready, I won't be caught off guard. The mind learned that vigilance was useful, and it kept practicing. Over time, that vigilance stopped feeling like a decision. It started feeling like a personality trait. I just think too much. My brain doesn't switch off. I've always been like this. These descriptions aren't inaccurate, but they are incomplete. They describe the surface behavior without naming what it's doing. The mind isn't thinking persistently because that is its nature. It is thinking persistently because persistent thinking once felt like protection. This is what turns a defensive reaction into an identity. And once it becomes identity, it becomes much harder to observe clearly. This is just who I am closes the door to curiosity. This is something my mind learned to do, opens it. Here are the 5 shifts, not techniques designed to overpower the loop, approaches designed to work alongside it. The first is observation without correction. When a sensation appears, the instinct is to address it immediately, to reduce it, explain it, or make it stop. The shift is to notice it without the second step. There is tension in my chest. Not, there is tension in my chest, and I need to do something about it. This is not the same as ignoring it. It is removing the evaluative layer that turns a sensation into a signal requiring immediate action. The second is slowing the monitoring. When you feel the urge to check in on your anxiety, to take its temperature, to ask if it is improving. See if you can delay that check-in by just 2 minutes. You are not stopping the anxiety. You are pausing the part of the loop that feeds it. The monitoring is what gives the sensation its sense of urgency. A small pause interrupts that rhythm. The third is separating discomfort from danger. The nervous system does not always distinguish between this feels unpleasant and this is a threat. Mild anxiety and genuine danger can produce similar internal signals. The shift is introducing a quiet internal clarification. This is uncomfortable. Is it also dangerous right now? Most of the time, the honest answer is no. That single distinction, discomfort is not the same as danger, begins to reduce the emergency framing the brain has assigned to the sensation. The fourth is releasing the goal of calm. This one sits strangely at first. The goal of feeling calm, held actively, keeps the mind in an evaluative state. Am I calm yet? More or less calm than before? Did that work? Releasing the goal doesn't mean giving up on feeling settled. It means allowing the nervous system to shift on its own terms without constant measurement. Calm often returns when it stops being pursued. When you stop forcing the breathing and instead just move, pace, clean, do something repetitive, you give the energy somewhere to go rather than trying to contain it. The fifth is recognizing the protection itself. When the loop appears, when the monitoring begins, instead of treating it as a problem, try acknowledging what it actually is. My mind is staying alert. It learned to do this. It is not wrong to do this. It may not be necessary right now. Your mind chose safety. It didn't choose misery. It chose the most reliable survival strategy it knows. Recognizing that, even briefly, reduces the internal friction that keeps the loop spinning. You are in a quiet way thanking your brain for trying to protect you, even if the method is no longer current. Here is where something worth naming sits. You may have spent a long time describing yourself as an anxious person, and that description isn't false. But it may be doing something unhelpful. When protection becomes identity, it becomes harder to notice it operating as protection. Calm is not being blocked by some external force. Calm is being postponed by protection. When the brain feels safe enough, not when it is told to feel safe, but when it actually registers safety, the system lowers its vigilance on its own. That is a biological process, not a moral achievement. You cannot think yourself into it by trying harder. You are not a person whose nature is to be anxious. You are a person whose nervous system developed a persistent protective pattern. One describes a fixed trait. The other describes a learned behavior, which means it can be understood, observed, and gradually loosened. Humans did not evolve to default to calm. They evolved to survive. The ancestors whose minds stayed quiet in uncertain environments were not always the ones who made it. The ones who stayed alert, who kept scanning, they kept checking. Those were the ones who passed those traits forward. If you find it difficult to relax, it may be because your internal security team is excellent at their job. They are just working overtime on a holiday they were never told about. Calm is unfamiliar territory for a vigilant mind. It feels like stepping into a clearing in the woods where you are exposed from all sides. The quiet itself becomes something to monitor. This calm feels too easy. Something must be coming. This is not irrationality. It is a nervous system that learned its lessons well. Protection and ease pull in different directions. The nervous system can hold both, but it defaults to whichever it trusts more. That trust doesn't develop through instruction. It develops slowly, through repeated experience that the quiet was actually safe. Where the goal isn't to never feel anxious again. The goal is to reach a point where, when the buzzing starts, you don't immediately panic about the panic. You see the pattern. You recognize the protection. You understand the choice your brain is making. The loop weakens when it is observed, not when it is attacked. Awareness doesn't always stop the noise immediately, but it changes your relationship to it. And that shift, even small, changes something in the system. You are reacting, not failing. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it learned to do in a world it still perceives as uncertain. Your mind chose safety. That choice made sense when it was made.